Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. My name is Rhypi. Welcome to Rhypi Talks. In this episode, we're gonna rank all of the grass type Pokemon that are currently out as of Generation 9 with the Paldean region. So far, we've done the fire and water. If you want to check those out, I'll leave a link in the description or in the playlist of you guys seeing it. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started with ranking some grass types. And as always, when we're ranking these, we're going to have my music in the background so you guys can have something being heard. But there might be some points when it goes off just because of how it is. That sometimes it resets things, but we'll see. But hopefully you guys are able to hear it just fine. And me noticing that it's not loaded in. So give me a second to make sure that's loaded correctly for you guys before we fully start. Okay, there we go. Now we can get started. Alright, so like before, since grass is our third starter types, besides the odd ones, that we're gonna do the starters first. And for the most part they're gonna be very similar to what we've been doing for the starters, starting with Bulbasaur, Venusaur, and Ivysaur. That will have Bulbasaur as a C, Ivysaur at a B, and Venusaur at an A. And then we need to create a category that I forgot to add is the fact that we need to say never used, just so you guys know what to expect. Alrighty, so with that in mind, we have our Chikorita, Bayleaf, and Meganium. And fun fact for me, during Generation 2, when it first came out, I chose Chikorita. And in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the first one I chose was Meganium as well. So it's just one of those interesting things to think about, because I know that Meganium doesn't always get a lot of love. But for me, I always enjoyed using it on my teams. It's just one of those interesting things, to say the least. And why is Meganium all the way down there? Weird. Alrighty, next up we have Trico, Sceptile, and Grovyle. And I'll be honest, when I first saw Trico, I was a little disappointed at first, because for me, I was a Mudkip person, and Trico didn't seem like it did much. But in Generation 8, Generation 6, when they introduced Mega, we'll talk about it a little bit more. But I was pleasantly surprised how they took care of some of the things I didn't care for Sceptile. But I know Sceptile, like with all of the home starters, is favorites among people. And then Turtwig, Terra, and Grotle, I'm a little partial to them, like with Squirtle, because it is loosely based on turtles. And I enjoyed it being grass ground type, even though I know some people didn't enjoy that. For me, I would like I sometimes like putting Torterra in this and that's because of me enjoying this a lot. That even though I did multiple playthroughs, that I did other starters, but when I went to Platinum, I chose Torterra again. So, just tells you how much I enjoyed it. And then from here, we have Unova, and we also chose the grass type during this generation. That we have Snivy, Servine, and Superior. And I enjoyed how speedy this was, because compared to the other ones, grass wasn't really known to be speedy when it comes to the starter, so it was a nice surprise. And then the next one, I didn't use that much, to be honest with you guys, Chessman, Chestnut, and Quillen, but I know it's a solid Pokemon when I've used it in other fashions, besides just besides the Kalos region, so that's why I'm gonna keep up with the theme of it being where it is, and trying to find Quillen, so I feel it looks like that it got it slightly. No, I just mislooked at it. Alrighty, then we have Generation 7, the Aloha region, which is why. Oh yeah, I forgot about it just because I'm more used to it being in Legend Arceus lately. But we have Rowlet, Dartrix, and Decidueye, the first grass Pokemon to change types for their evolutions when you're thinking of the starters of the grass. Because this was always grass, this was always grass, this was grass, and then grass ground, so technically not the first one. But this one was grass flying, and they rarely changed flying, so it's interesting that this became grass ghost to me. And then this was grass poison all the way through. And then this one was grass, and grass fighting. But like I said, the interesting thing is the fact that we can say that this was two different subtypes. Alrighty. Next up, we have next generation with Grookey, Thwackey, and Rillaboom. Once again, I didn't use this guy as much, but I know people who enjoyed having this monkey. And because people really enjoyed Infernape, so I had a feeling Rillaboom was going to be a popular hit too, to say the least. And then we have the latest generation, where I use Muscarada / Sprigata, like I talked about before. So, and getting a grass dark type as a starter was very interesting. And we have Florgata as well, besides Muscarada. Okay, where are you? Where's Muscarada? Why can I not find you, Muscarada? There you go. Alright. Next up, we'll do Generation 1 and any evolutions in between. Alright, we have Bellsprout and similar. That we'll say Bellsprout is a C. Weeping Bell is a B. Victory Bell. Venus was cool when I used her in my Pokemon Dark Violet playthrough. And I actually kind of enjoyed Victory Bell a little bit more than Venusaur, but just from base to think about. Then we have Oddish. We have Oddish as a C, Gloom as a B, and then we have a split evolution. Even though the split didn't happen until Generation 2, we have Vileplume and Blossom, and they're both good in their own rights. That they're both an A in my books. Alright. So with this in mind, there wasn't many grass types in Generation 1, but we also had Tangela, and then Generation 4, it came out with an evolution. So for me, if it was Generation 1, I almost put it at a D, because hardly anyone used this guy. But recently with different Pokerogues and stuff like that, it's gotten a little bit more better. And then Tangrowth is very tanky, that I can argue that it goes to A. I can see some people putting it as S and some as B. I just can't see it being lower than a B. So with that in mind, I feel like there's one other grass type that was Generation 1. That's why I'm just re-looking through the list just to make sure. And unlike the water types, we don't have to worry about as many Pokemon, so it's kind of a good thing. But in the comments below, if you're watching this point in the video, let me know what is your favorite grass type, or what things you would have changed that I put in the orders. Alrighty, looks like we got all the Generation 1, but now it's time for Generation 2. We have Sunkern and Sunflora. Sunkern, unfortunately, I'm gonna put it as a D, because it doesn't really do much, even though in fan games they made it better. And similarly, Sunflora, I'm gonna put a C, because the Sunstone just didn't seem like it helped it that much, that the fan games kind of helped it a lot more, in my opinion. And then the only other grass type that was in Generation 2 that wasn't Meganium and wasn't Blossom and the Sunscreen and Sunflora is the Hoppip line. So this one is kind of an interesting thing. I didn't know much about this one when I first got out and started Generation 2. I've grown to love him a little bit more in recent years, but I just remember initial impressions, because I didn't even know this guy evolved, that I would have put him as a D if I remember from my childhood. But more I've been using them, I've been enjoying it a lot more. And then Skiploom is a B, and Jumpluff is an A. And for me, to be honest with you, because I don't always use it, I always forget the order sometimes. I have to remind myself sometimes what is the correct order, because I don't use it as often. So, but I can't give it an S rank. Alright, next up, we have the third generation, and I always consider this more of a bug type, so I always forget about it, but Paris and Parasect is C, and because of the spore and other things that people really enjoy about Paris, I'm gonna put it in an A, even though I know some people argue because of its weaknesses it's a B, but you can counter it in different ways depending on how you build the team around it, if you're really wanting to use it, and I like trying to do that as well. Alrighty, next up, and for our grass types, we have a lot that got introduced that are crowd favorites. We have Shroomish and Breloom, where Shroomish is almost a B for me because of its spore abilities, because not many of the grass types had spore right away. And then Breloom being the first grass fighting type we had, I really enjoyed it, but I can see why it wasn't the best now. But at the time, I really enjoyed it. I used it when I was running with my first team for a little bit. And then I also used it when I was using Blaziken, so in Generation 3, so just interesting things to think about. Alrighty. Then we have 2 3-stage evolutions, one being Lotad, Lumberry, and Ludicolo. And like we talked about in the water video, these guys, I didn't really knew much about them being a 3-stage evolution at first. Even the trainer had it when you versus secret them so many times that they eventually evolved into Ludicolo. It didn't cross my mind, similar to our next entry being Nuzleaf, Seedot, and Shiftry. But Lumberry, as a grass type, I'm gonna put it as a, even though I know in the water I believe I put it in a B, but as a grass type, that's what I mainly had used it for. And Ludicolo I barely used. And then Seedot, Shiftry, I didn't really use since I didn't start with Ruby, I started with Sapphire. So I'm gonna go ahead and put Shiftry for now. For me, just for my preferences, put it as a B as well, but I know some of you guys will put it as an A, similar to Ludicolo. And I just realized another Gen 1 grass type we forgot to add. Dang it! But the weird thing is, this one doesn't have Execute. Because I see both Executors. Why do I not see an Execute? Weird. So give me a second. Get a second to try to get it to be the case that you guys can see it okay. Alright. Well, that's why I didn't see it at first, because SQ wasn't even here. Sorry about that, guys. But I'll be honest, I didn't use it that much, and that's why I forget about it sometimes. But it's interesting that it wasn't there at all. Don't know why. Alright, so now we're gonna go to another Generation 3 Pokemon, Cat turn. I'll be honest, I haven't used this guy that much, but it is a good grass dark type, but I can't give it more than B rank for a Cat turn, because I didn't really use it. And then for Roselia, if it was just Roselia, I would put it as a C, but because of the fact in the next generation they introduced Bidoof, and Roserade. I like putting Roserade right here because I enjoyed using it in combination sometimes with my Apollyon and sometimes with my Infernape, depending on what team I was doing. And then we have Cherubi and Cherum. Cherubi, C, and Overcast being a B, and Cherum is always one that I enjoyed the design of, and I've thought about when I've been trying to think of different ways to make custom Pokemon, revamping the Cherum to similar style of Rhypi. So you guys might see that in the future, but we'll see how things go for that. But for now, I know competitively it's not the best, so that's why I'm putting it as a B, even though it's one similar to Pichu and the Rhyhorn family that I want to eventually have custom art with to make it different forms. So just one of those interesting things to say the least. But with this in mind, next generation 2 and 3, because I forgot about Celebi. Because to be honest, when I first was playing the game, I didn't know about Celebi until the movie came out, and then the movie made me a huge fan of it, but I didn't actually use it to do stuff until later. So that's why this legendary will be a B rank for me. So with that in mind, apologize if there's a different music that plays than what was, since I had to do a couple of things in between takes. But now we're gonna continue on with more grass types. And this time we're continuing to start our generation 4, because if I'm looking through everything correctly, we've finished generation 3, besides maybe a Pokemon that I forgot about again, because it tends to happen, unfortunately. But for generation 4, there was a couple that got introduced besides Cherum and Roserade and Bidoof. Not Bidoof again. One of the ones is a standalone Carnivine. That is one that I really never used, and I know some people enjoyed it, but for me, it just felt like they was trying to do a similar thing to Weeping Bell and Victor's Bell, that I didn't use it that much because of it. But I know some people that it's their absolute very favorite. And then, like I said, I had a feeling I was gonna see the grass type that I forgot in generation 3 is the fossil. It's not often they're grass type fossil type. So, but I enjoyed Cordelia a lot when I saw it, and that's why it gets me the A rank for that. And then we had the warmer dams and Burmese, where they didn't really do much. If I remember right, Burmese is just bug, so that's why we don't see it here. But Mormon grass, I didn't really use, and most of the warmer dams I didn't use, so that's why it's gonna go right there in D. And then looking through, sorry for being a different part of the song, guys. Alright. Then we have Rotom Grass / Mo that I kind of used, kind of didn't use. I know some people put it at B. For me, I didn't use it that much, so that's why I'm putting it as a C, because I didn't care for that it had Leaf Storm as a signature grass move. That I would prefer it been Razor Leaf or something, but that was just me. Then we had the evolution of Leafeon, which I enjoyed. The originality a little bit, even though it was based on a leaf, but it was still cool to see. Then we have Shaman Land and Skyform. I'll be honest, I didn't use it that much when I first saw these guys, but because similar that I didn't believe they was in the game at first, but when I did get to use them in Mystery Dungeon, they was a good legendary in my opinion. That I would actually put Shane land in B because Mystery Dungeon kind of brings it up for me. Ready? And then we have Snover and Abomasnow being our first grass ice type, which was a unique typing at the time and was decent. But because of how late you got it around 7th gym, I didn't really use it that much, but in Pokerogues I enjoyed it more, so that's why they're C and A respectively. And then the third generation I always forget about is Tropius. That if I just talk about Pokerogue, it would be a B, but or Pokemon Emerald, I should say, but everywhere else it would be a D. D for me, just because it felt like there could have been something more to it, but it just got lost in the shuffle of all the grass types to me. Then we have Arceus Grass, and like we talked about with other Arceus, I've never used them, so it goes immediately there. And then we have different Generation 5 introducing a lot of different unique ones. We have the Grass Monkey, Pansage Sage, which was just but didn't really do much for me with the grass compared to the water. And then we have Sawsbuck and then Deerling. And I didn't really use these guys, but they was in Pokerogue they're decent. And then similar to Sawsbuck for the same reason. Then we're gonna talk about Connie and what's cut that in Generation 5 I would say would have been C and B, but because of Generation 6 becoming a fairy type, I would say that's more of A. And then we have the Petal and Lilligant. And this was an interesting Pokemon because of own tempo. You could do Battle Dance without problems. So we have the Grass Steel types for Thorn and Ferocity. So, and I would say that with the setups, the defensive wall and stuff like that, I would be able to say Ferrothorn's commonly in the S rank. And then we have Swaddloon and Levani as a bug grass type, which was unique at the time. And once again, another Generation 5 that this is the one I used on my team on side of Snivy actually sometimes, and then when I then in generation and then back to Y2 did Samurai, I picked up another one to use it more for the grass type. I'd used it primarily for bug before, but it's nice to be able to have options. Then Maractus, similar to Carnivine and Tropius, it kind of gets lost in the shuffle for me. So it's a little unfortunate, but that's where I'm gonna put it. And then from here we have the next few that also kind of got lost, but similar to Paris and Parasite, did really good job for what it did of stalling and stuff like that. So I'm gonna put them C and A respectively as well. Alrighty. So next up we have Generation 6, where they introduced Mega. So after we talk about the Generation 6 Pokemon, we'll be talking about the Megas. But before that, our grass fighting type legendary Virizion, or Rizion, depending on how you want to say it. It was a solid Pokemon. I enjoyed using it for the little bit I used of it, so it's an A for me so far. Maybe if I used it more, it'd be an S rank, who knows for sure, but can't tell you guys for sure. Alright, next up we have Generation 6, like we said. Besides, if I missed anyone again, this was us being in the Kalos region, and there, if I remember right, there wasn't many being introduced here that was like, dang, I remember this one. I had a couple that was decent, like Skiddo, I would say is a C, and Go-Go, because Sapsipper it could be an A, but I'm gonna say it's a B. I know some people argue with me. And then Phantom and Punkaboo with Trevenant and Gorgeist, they was very interesting to say the least. They was decent. Alright, why can I not find? There we go. And besides the size stuff, I didn't care as much as Trevenant, so that's why it's gonna be a B. Huh. And alrighty. So with this in mind, if I remember right, we have all different things from Generation 6, but some of the megas that we have was interesting to say the least, and there wasn't many, but we have Abomasnow that I would argue was really good, that we had it being a really good addition with it being more tankier stuff. And sometimes, like I said, with it becoming a grass dragon type and lightning rod, brought it, me loving Sceptile a little bit more than I liked in the past, with the combination of both of those things. And then one that I do not see on this list as well, for some reason is the Mega Venusaur. Guess we'll quickly look that up, get that in here. Because I want to make sure you guys have something to refer to. we're talking about Venusaur. There we go. Here's one. And this one similarly became a strong mega as well, even though I didn't use it as much as these guys, so that's why for me it's gonna be an 8, but I know a lot of people would argue this should be reversed, but just my thing, to say the least. Alright. Excuse me. Then we have Generation 7. Alright. Alrighty. So this one, we had the Bounce, Sweet, Steenie, and Starny. And for me, I thought it was going to be a bug grass type kind of at first, but I saw that was just a grass type. I was like, oh, decent. But compared to Levini, it didn't feel like that was like the definite thing. Alright. And then we have Fomentis and Lurantis. That was actually bug grass, even though I didn't realize it at first. But I'm gonna put it as an A because even though I really enjoyed it, but something with the veining is a little bit more for me. And then we have Morel and Shiinotic. If I remember correctly, was also in this generation. This one I didn't use as much first, but with Pokerogues and stuff like that, it gained a little bit more attraction to me. And then I'll be honest, even though I caught it, I never really used the lone form of Executor, even though it was Grass Dragon type. But at the time when you catch it, it was almost the end of the playthrough. So then Tapu Blue, a decent legendary to say the least, as well with Virizion. Alrighty. And then we have Delmice, that is easily forgettable. That for me, I always forget if it's grass gross or grass watered, to be honest. That even I'm not sure right now as I'm doing this video. Then our Grass Ultra Beast, that if I remember it was Grass Steel, but don't quote me because I didn't use it as much, but I can see how it can be useful with the speed boost and it being super speedy, so that's why I'm going to put it as a B. Alrighty. Double checking that I'm not missing anyone. Looks like I'm not. And then Generation 7 with the G-Max forms. That only one that I can remember being added in the Grass family that wasn't this starter, which is surprising, even though now it makes me wonder if Morel and Shiinotic was Generation 8 as well, is Applin and Flapple and Appleton. These guys was decent, but I didn't use it as much as some people. So I can see why some people will enjoy them, but I didn't really use it. But for the G-Max form, I be honest, I didn't really use of Appleton since I didn't have an Appleton or Flapple as my main team member. So and then the Venusaur G-Max came out after as DLC, so I didn't really use it. And then similarly with the Calyrex, I didn't really use. And then Relevant, I used a decent amount of times, but can't say I know much about him, so I'm gonna put him as B because of that. Alright. And then we have the Alolan, not Alolan, the Arceusmons, assuming in Electro and Voltorb. These was interesting to say the least, something different. That's giving them an A for Electro, C for Voltorb. And this is why being something totally different and in its own regard, something cool. And from here we had Ensuing Logan. I didn't use as much during Arceus, but I enjoyed the design. And in the one time I used it in Pokérogue, I don't know if it was a video or not, but I enjoyed using it, so that's why it's a B. And then these two guys, I don't remember which generation these guys are in. That they're a decent one, but I don't know much about them, so I'm gonna put both of them as a C. I know one is an evolution of the other, but I can't remember in which order, to be honest with you guys. And then we had Generation 9, our recent, that all of the rest of these guys are besides Rude, which I'm gonna put in and never use, because I didn't really use him as well. Alright, first up we have Bramble and Bramleghast. I actually enjoyed this little guy, and the fact that it was evolving through walking. I enjoyed that idea. And then we have Capsicid and Scovillain being Grass and then Grass Fire, which was a decent choice. Choice to say the least. And then we have Smoliv, Dolive, and Aurelia that I didn't use that much at first, but it was a decent one with different coverage that and that game didn't, and Scarlet and Violet didn't really have many to have that kind of coverage as a grass type. We have Toedscool and Toedscool. They're cool variety, but I just prefer Tentacle and Tentacle Curl a little bit more. Yeah. And then Group Bonnet was a decent mon. I know some people put him as an A. For me, I'm gonna put him as B because it's how late game it was. I didn't use him as much, but once again, Rogue kind of made me appreciate it a little bit more. And then all of these guys. Buchen, I know about it, but I didn't use it on my team yet. And then the rest of these are ones that came out since I haven't played Scarlet Violet as much. And I know these are the different mass of Ogerpon. And I know this is Iron Leaves. And this is Dipplin and Hydroton. And this is Sinistcha and Poltergeist. But I don't know much about their playstyle, so that's it. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree in the comments below. This has been Rhypi with Rhypi Talks. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like if you did. And once again, this was made by Momo. So if you want to find it for yourself to create a tier list, or if you guys want me to make a tier list, feel free to let me know in the comments below. That this has been Rhypi with me showing you guys different Pokemon to rank and stuff like that. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to like if you did, and have a good morning, afternoon, evening, depending on when you're watching this video. Next time on Rhypi Talks. See you guys next time. Peace.